The reason you are currently sitting there in a state of paralysis, watching your life slip through your fingers like sand, is not because you are tired or because you lack some magical spark of inspiration that the rest of us possess, but because you have fundamentally failed to realize that. Laziness is not a condition you suffer from, but a choice you are making every single second of your existence. You have been coddled by a society that wants you soft, compliant, and stationary, because a man who is too lazy to move is a man who is easy to control and even easier to ignore. You are currently drowning in a sea of cheap dopamine, hooked on the blue light of your smartphone and the processed garbage in your refrigerator. And you wonder why the fire in your soul has gone out when you are the one who has been pouring buckets of ice water on it for years. I am here to tell you that there is no such thing as a lazy person. There are only people who lack a mission worth dying for, and people who have no respect for the absolute brutality of the world they live in. If you truly understood the level of competition that is out there right now, if you could see the men who are waking up at 4 in the morning to outwork you, outthink you, and take every single opportunity that should have been yours, you wouldn't be able to sit still for another second. You are currently playing a game of life where the stakes are your legacy and your bloodline, yet you are playing like you have an infinite number of respawns, when the truth is that once your time is up, it is gone forever. The Matrix has convinced you that you need to find your passion or wait for the right mood to strike before you take action. But the elite know that the mood is irrelevant and the passion is found in the pursuit. I have spent my entire life in a state of high-speed motion. From the kickboxing rings where my shins were shattered to the boardrooms where millions were on the line, and I can tell you that I didn't feel like doing the work 90% of the time. The difference between a winner and a loser is that the winner does it anyway because he is governed by a code of discipline, while the loser is a slave to his fleeting emotions. You are currently a slave to the version of yourself that wants to quit, the version that wants the comfort of the couch and the safety of the status quo. And until you learn to murder that version of yourself every morning, you will never taste the air at the peak of the mountain. Speed is the ultimate cure for laziness, because laziness requires time to fester and grow in the gaps of your indecision. When you move with absolute urgency, when you attack your tasks the moment they enter your mind without allowing your brain to negotiate with you, laziness becomes a physical impossibility. You need to develop a level of implementation speed that makes people around you uncomfortable, because that is the only way to break the gravitational pull of mediocrity. Most of you spend weeks thinking about a business idea or a workout routine that should have been started in 5 seconds, and by the time you actually decide to move, the window of opportunity has slammed shut. You need to stop being a thinker and start being a doer, because the world doesn't pay you for what you know, it pays you for what you produce. Look at your life right now and audit every single hour of your day if you aren't building an empire, if you aren't refining your body into a weapon, and if you aren't sharpening your mind for war, then you are simply waiting to die. You have been lied to by people who told you that it is okay to take it slow and that balance is the key to happiness. But balance is a myth for the average and the uninspired. Greatness requires an extreme lopsided obsession that leaves no room for the luxury of being lazy. I grew up in the dirt of Luton with nothing but a dream and a refusal to be a nobody. And I did it by working while everyone else was sleeping and studying while everyone else was partying. I have been broke, cold, and forgotten. And I can tell you that the only thing worse than being in that position is knowing that you are there because you were too lazy to change it. Your current situation is a direct result of your habits. And if you hate where you are, you need to start hating yourself just enough to do something about it. Use your disgust as a fuel, because comfort is the silent killer of ambition and the primary architect of a wasted life. You are currently living in a cage of your own making, decorated with distractions and excuses, and the only way out is to kick the door down through sheer force of will. Stop waiting for someone to give you a map and start building the road yourself, because the cavalry is not coming and no one is going to hand you a crown that you haven't bled for. You need to realize that your time is a dwindling asset, and every second you spend in a state of laziness is a second you are stealing from the future version of yourself who could have been a king. Think about the man you could be in 5 years if you worked every single day without fail. And then think about the pathetic creature you will be if you continue on your current path. That should be enough to make you sick, and that sickness should be the catalyst for your transformation. You need to develop a hatred for your own weakness and a reverence for the grind, because the grind is the only place where true men are forged. The Matrix wants you to be a consumer who sits on the sidelines watching other people live their lives, but I am telling you to get on the field and dominate. There is no middle ground in this world. You are either the hunter or the prey, the hammer or the anvil. And if you choose to be lazy, you have already volunteered to be the victim. Break the cycle of indecision today by doing the hardest thing on your list first, and then do the next thing, and the next, until you have created a momentum that is impossible to stop. Success is a compounding interest of daily discipline, and once you start winning, laziness becomes a disgusting habit that you can no longer tolerate. You were born with a fire inside you, but you have let the world dampen it with their lies and their safety nets, and it is time for you to pour gasoline on that fire and let it burn everything that stands in your way. You are capable of achieving things that would terrify an ordinary person, but you will never know your true power until you stop negotiating with your own laziness. The world is yours for the taking, but it will only be handed to the man who is willing to work until his hands bleed and his eyes burn. Get up, move with speed, and never allow the ghost of laziness to haunt your house again, because you are a warrior, a conqueror, and a king in the making. And kings do not have the luxury of being lazy. You need to understand that every single excuse you make is a brick in the wall of your own prison. And the more you repeat those excuses to yourself, the thicker that wall becomes until you can no longer see the sunlight of opportunity. You say you don't have enough time, but you have the same 24 hours that every billionaire and every world champion has. The only difference is that they value their time while you treat yours like a worthless commodity. You say you don't have the resources, but we live in an age where the sum of all human knowledge is available for free in your pocket, and yet you use it to look at memes and watch videos of other people being successful. You say you're waiting for the right moment, but the right moment is a hallucination designed to keep you stationary until you're too old and too tired to care. There is no perfect alignment of the stars, and there is no divine signal that is going to tell you it's time to start. There is only the decision you make right now to either be a man of action or a man of regret. I have seen too many men waste their prime years waiting for permission to be great, and I can tell you that the world only gives permission to those who take it. You need to become an absolute animal when it comes to your goals. A predator who doesn't sleep until the job is done and who doesn't understand the concept of a weekend. The idea of a day off is a socialist construct designed to keep the workforce from becoming too powerful. But if you want to be free, you must realize that there are no days off in the pursuit of an empire. Your competition is not resting, and neither should you. Every time you choose to indulge in your laziness, you are giving a head start to the man who wants to take the food off your plate and the roof from over your head. This world is a zero-sum game, and for you to win, someone else has to lose, so you better make sure it's not you. You need to stop being so sensitive and start being more clinical about your life. If a habit doesn't contribute to your wealth, your health, or your influence, then it is a cancer that needs to be cut out immediately. Stop hanging around people who validate your laziness and start surrounding yourself with men who make you feel ashamed for doing anything less than your absolute best. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if those 5 people are losers who complain about their lives while doing nothing to fix them, then you are destined to be the 6th. Find the winners. Find the ones who are obsessed, and find the ones who move with the same urgency as a man whose hair is on fire. Only then will you begin to understand the true speed of the world. I didn't become a multi-millionaire world champion by being balanced or relaxed. I did it by being a fanatic who refused to accept anything less than total dominance. You need to find that same spark within yourself and fan it until it becomes an inferno that consumes your laziness, your doubt, and your fear. The Matrix wants you to be a nice guy who finishes last, but I am telling you to be a dangerous man who is controlled and disciplined enough to choose his own path. Loneliness at the top is a myth created by people who never made it past the base of the mountain to make themselves feel better about their own stagnation. The truth is that the view from the top is beautiful, and the air is clear, but only those who are willing to suffer through the climb will ever breathe it. You have to decide today if you are going to be one of the climbers or one of the spectators who dies at the bottom, wondering what could have been. The pain of discipline is nothing compared to the pain of regret, and while discipline lasts for a few hours a day, regret lasts for a lifetime. Every morning you have a choice. You can stay in the dream, or you can wake up and build it. I choose to build every single day, and that is why I have everything I have while you are still sitting there wondering how I did it. The answer is simple. I moved faster than you, I worked harder than you, and I never ever let laziness into my house. You can change your life in a single moment if you have the balls to commit to a new standard of excellence and never look back. The world is waiting for you to show it what you're made of, but it won't wait forever. Get up, take action, and prove to yourself that you are not just another background character in someone else's story. You are the protagonist, the hero, and the conqueror of your own reality. So start acting like it. Speed is the key, discipline is the lock, and your future is the prize behind the door. Stop being lazy and start being legendary. I did not get the result I wanted, but the real result I was looking for was knowing whether I could still do it. Because at 40 years old, my body is tired, and time eventually burns all of us. But I gave absolutely everything I had, and I respect my opponent completely for showing heart and grit. Just like I did. I never quit and I never retreat. Because you fight until the end and you go out on your shield, and the only way I could ever be disappointed in myself is if I was too afraid to fight in the first place. When I first agreed to step back into the arena, everyone questioned me and said I was too old and had too many problems already, but for the first time in my life I felt fear. And the moment I felt that fear, I knew I had to do it. You cannot live doubting yourself, because doubt grows quietly and turns into paralysis, and the second I felt afraid, I knew I had to step forward. I am not afraid to lose, I am afraid of never trying. And if there is one lesson you need to take from my life, it is that losing is acceptable, but living with what if is not. I can sleep knowing I lost, but I could never sleep knowing I didn't try. And my life will be defined by attempt, success, or failure, but there will never be a single what if hanging over my head when I die. If you are unsure about something, go anyway, because loss fades, but regret doesn't. And when people told me not to fight because he was younger and bigger for a moment, I agreed. And then I stopped myself and asked, who is this voice? Because that's not me. Winning and losing isn't the point, fighting is the point, and I watch people live for weekends and alcohol and distractions, and that kind of life feels empty and crippling, especially if you are intelligent. Some people cannot live quiet, repetitive lives. They need struggle and pressure, and that is why people climb mountains and jump from planes, because it is not madness, it is necessity. I need something that exhausts me mentally and physically, because without it I would self-destruct out of boredom, and training twice a day keeps my mind occupied, while stress replaces meaningless pleasure. I could lose 100 fights and still do this, because I am not built for comfort, and I have never relaxed a day in my life, and I don't even know what relaxation feels like. If you want to understand yourself, you have to build discipline and test your limits against someone better than you every single day, and refuse to quit. Most people aren't strong enough for that, and they talk about mindset, but mindset is built in battle, and reality teaches better than any book ever could. If it didn't hurt, you didn't learn, and for years I trained when I didn't want to, because motivation only showed up a quarter of the time, but discipline showed up every day. People say they want money and success, but they don't want it enough to suffer for it. And if you truly want something, it won't let you sleep. Success is directly linked to how much pressure you can tolerate, and we aren't here to be happy all the time. We are here to struggle and endure and learn, because pain gives life meaning, and feeling nothing is worse than feeling pain. Hard times teach gratitude, and failure prepares you to keep success when it finally arrives, so you must control your mind instead of letting it control you. Ask yourself whether today's worries will matter in 5 years, and realize most worry is wasted energy, because bad days are guaranteed, so why waste the good ones? Humanity has always advanced through conquest of land and ideas and self, and you don't learn without pain, because there is only the hard way and the harder way. When you commit, you must understand what that really means. And it doesn't mean you feel inspired for a week. It means you decide once that your excuses are dead, and you stop negotiating with yourself. Most people spend all day negotiating and bargaining, trying to find a way to win without paying the price. And they say they will start tomorrow or after the holidays, but life never calms down, and that is the point. If you wait for perfect conditions, you are admitting you are not built for real results, because real results are built in chaos while you are tired and stressed and scared and everything in you wants to quit. Most people stay the same for 10 years because they treat discomfort like a threat and pain like something to avoid, but pain is the receipt, and if you don't have the receipt, you didn't buy anything. You want the body without the soreness, and the money without the risk, and the respect without the confrontation, but you cannot fake competence or a nervous system trained to function under stress. Stop looking for motivation, because feelings are unreliable and they change with the weather, while discipline doesn't care about any of that. The difference between winners and losers is not intelligence, it is control over oneself. Because most people are addicted to comfort and have been trained like pets to avoid anything hard. If you can't control your impulses, your life will be controlled by whoever can, and you call it life, but it is just slavery with better branding. You don't break slavery by wishing you break it by building a system so ruthless that even on your worst day you still execute. Because you will never become powerful until you become reliable to yourself. If you say you will do something, do it. And if you make a promise, keep it. Because every time you break your word to yourself, you teach your brain that you are a talker and not a man of action. Confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from evidence. And you suffer your way into confidence by showing your own mind that you can do what you said you would do. Most people are trapped by what if and live in a simulation inside their head, replaying scenarios and imagining failure, but that is just cowardice wearing a suit. Reality is, what happens when you take action and fear is the border of your current identity. So the moment you feel it, you are standing at the edge of growth. You might lose and you might look stupid, but you need humiliation because it is an education fee. And if you pay it early, you will own skills that others never touch. Your ego is the softest part of you, and it is the part that ruins your life by telling you to wait until you are ready, but you must do the thing while your ego is screaming. Your environment matters, and your circle either sharpens you or sedates you. And if you are surrounded by men who celebrate mediocrity, you will become mediocre yourself. Some friends are not friends, they are anchors who want you to stay average so they don't have to confront their own failure, and when you outgrow people, you must let them go. Stop asking how you feel and start asking what is required. Because fitness requires training, and money requires risk, and respect requires standards. Life becomes simple when you understand requirements instead of wishes, and you can create a day so structured that even if you are depressed, you still win. Pressure is coming no matter what you do, and if you avoid it now, you get the pressure of poverty and regret later. So choose your suffering deliberately. Balance is for average people, and extraordinary results require an obsession that looks unreasonable to reasonable people. Nobody is coming to save you, and the world rewards outcomes, not intentions. So replace blame with ownership, because ownership is power. You need to become a different type of human who does not stop and does not require permission, and building that person is a permanent decision. I keep talking about fighting because it strips you of fantasy and punishes delusion, and you can't lie in the cage. Commitment means excuses are finished and you stop negotiating because life is forged in chaos, and if you wait, you are admitting you are not built for this. Pain is the price of the life you want, and if you don't have the receipt, you didn't buy anything. Discipline shows up when motivation disappears, and the difference is self-control, because if you can't control yourself, something else will. You break slavery by building a system, and you become powerful by being reliable to yourself, so stop lying to your own mind. Confidence is built through suffering and execution, and fear is the signal to move forward, not a reason to stop. You cannot skip the phase of being bad or being uncomfortable, because that is the gateway, and you must stop protecting your ego. Your circle creates your standards, and if you want to change, you might have to change your phone contacts, because the cost of keeping everyone is losing yourself. Requirements don't care about your emotions, and life becomes simple when it's about execution instead of feelings. You will suffer either way, so choose the suffering that builds you instead of the suffering that destroys you. The scoreboard of life is moving, and there is no neutral state, so you are either becoming stronger or weaker every single day. The world rewards outcomes and the few who stay standing when others collapse, and most people spend their lives explaining why they didn't start, while winners just adjust and execute again. You don't need to be special, you just need to be stubborn and consistent long after the excitement is gone. Life only respects permanence and habits that don't break when things get uncomfortable, and dangerous men show up regardless of how they feel. There is a version of you that avoids pain, and a version that is quiet and relentless, and only one survives the long term. Decay is subtle and happens when you choose comfort over pressure, but pressure is the gift that keeps you sharp and honest. Life is kinder to strong men, so you must become reliable and turn your identity into your greatest asset. You fall to the level of your habits, so your execution must be flawless, and you must be willing to work when results are delayed. Success isolates you before it rewards you, and you will feel alone before you feel proud, but that is the test. You cannot build something meaningful while trying to be liked by everyone, so accept that people will say you changed and keep moving. The path to greatness is littered with the corpses of those who had good intentions but no discipline, and you must decide that your desire for a legacy is greater than your desire for a nap. Every single day you wake up and you have the opportunity to either build your monument or dig your grave, and most of you are spending your time polishing the headstone. You need to understand that the people who have the life you want are not smarter than you, they are just more consistent and more willing to endure the boredom of the grind. Boredom is the ultimate filter because it weeds out the people who are only in it for the dopamine and the praise. If you can do the same boring work for 5 years without anyone clapping for you, then you are truly dangerous and the world will eventually have no choice but to give you what you want. Stop looking for a shortcut or a hack, because the hack is that there is no hack and the shortcut is the long way. You have to be willing to be the person who works when the lights are off and the person who stays when everyone else has gone home. This is not about being lucky, it is about being inevitable, and you become inevitable when your habits are so strong that failure is mathematically impossible. Look at your life and ask yourself if the man you are today is someone your 10-year-old self would be proud of, or if he would be disappointed by how much you have settled. You were born for more than just paying bills and watching television, and the only thing standing in your way is your own refusal to accept the burden of your potential. Potential is the most painful thing in the world because it is a constant reminder of what you haven't done yet, and you need to turn that potential into kinetic energy through raw action. Stop talking about what you are going to do and just do it until it is finished, and then move on to the next thing without waiting for congratulations. The highest level of human existence is found in the pursuit of the impossible, and you need to set goals that are so big they make your current friends uncomfortable. If your goals don't scare you, then they aren't big enough, and if they don't require you to become a completely different person, then you are aiming too low. You need to reinvent yourself every single day until you are the man who can handle the weight of the crown you want to wear. The world is full of background characters who are just waiting for the main character to show up, and you need to decide that you are the protagonist of your own story. This requires a level of arrogance that most people will call toxic, but that arrogance is just a shield against the mediocrity of the masses. You have to believe you are the best before you are the best, so that you have the confidence to do the work required to get there. Don't wait for validation and don't wait for permission, because the only person who can give you permission is the man in the mirror. Get up right now and start moving, because time is the only thing you can't buy back, and you are currently wasting it like it is infinite. It is not infinite, and your clock is ticking faster than you think, so make every second count and leave a mark on this world that can never be erased. You have to develop a relationship with failure where you see it as a coach rather than an enemy, because every time you fail, you are getting a free lesson in what not to do. The people who are afraid to fail are the people who stay exactly where they are for their entire lives, and that is the true failure. I want you to be the guy who fails 1,000 times but keeps coming back, because eventually the universe will get tired of trying to stop you and it will just step out of the way. This is a secret to everything, and it is the only way to live a life that is actually worth living. You are either a hammer or an anvil, and if you don't want to be hit, you need to start hitting back with everything you've got. The Matrix is real, and it is designed to keep you poor and weak, and the only way to escape is to become so powerful that the rules no longer apply to you. This starts with your mind, and it ends with your bank account and your physical form, so don't neglect any area of your development. You need to be a polymath of the modern age, and a warrior who can also think, and a thinker who can also fight. This is the standard, and anything less is just an excuse for being average. Break the chains of your own making and start building the life you were meant to live, because nobody else is going to do it for you, and the time is now. You must understand that the modern world is a psychological operation designed to keep you in a state of perpetual childhood, where you seek safety over sovereignty and comfort over character. You have to be the one to break that spell by embracing the cold and the dark and the difficult, because that is where your soul is hardened. If you never face a storm, you will never know if your ship is seaworthy, and most of you are just sailing in a bathtub thinking you are explorers. Get out into the deep water where the waves are high and the risks are real, because that is where the gold is buried and that is where the legends are made. You need to stop being so afraid of being judged by people who are already dead inside and start being afraid of being the man who never tried. The judgment of the masses is just noise, but the judgment of your own conscience is a life sentence. So make sure you are living in a way that allows you to look yourself in the eye every single night. You are a biological machine designed for conquest, and if you aren't conquering something, you will start to rot from the inside out. This is why you feel anxious and why you feel depressed, because you are living against your own nature. You were meant to build and to lead and to protect and to expand, but instead you are just consuming and following and hiding and shrinking. Turn it around today and start being the man you know you are capable of being, because the world is waiting for you to take your place at the table and the seat is getting cold. Don't let someone else sit in your chair just because you were too lazy to claim it. The history of the world is written by the men who showed up and stayed when everyone else left, and you need to be one of those men. It doesn't matter how many times you fall, as long as you are the one who gets up last, and if you can do that, then you have already won. The game is long, and the obstacles are many, but the reward is a life of absolute freedom, and that is the only thing worth fighting for. So stop complaining and start working, and don't stop until the job is done, and then find a bigger job and start again. This is the G code, and this is the only way to live. Every morning when you wake up, you are entering a battlefield where the enemy is your own lethargy and the distractions of the world, and if you don't have a plan, you have already lost. You need to have a routine that is so disciplined that it doesn't matter if you feel like a king or a peasant, you still execute the same way. This is how you build a life that is resistant to the fluctuations of the world, and how you stay on top when everyone else is falling apart. You need to be the anchor for the people around you and the person who stays calm when the world is in flames. This level of stoicism is not something you are born with, it is something you forge through repeated exposure to stress and pressure. So stop avoiding the things that make you uncomfortable and start seeking them out like they're the most valuable things on earth. The more you can handle, the more you will be given. And if you want to have a big life, you need to have big shoulders. Build those shoulders today through hard work and heavy lifting and the refusal to quit. You are the architect of your own reality, and if you don't like the building you are living in, then tear it down and build a new one. You have the tools and you have the time, and the only thing you lack is the will. So find that will and use it to change your world and never look back. The past is a graveyard, and you shouldn't be living there, so focus on the future and the man you are becoming. Every second is a new opportunity to be better than you were a second ago, and if you take enough of those opportunities, you will eventually be unrecognizable. This is the process of transformation, and it is the most beautiful thing a human can experience. So go out there and transform yourself into a god among men, and don't stop until you reach the stars. You need to realize that every obstacle in your path is not a wall but a stepping stone, and the higher the stone, the further you can see. If your life is difficult right now, it just means you are being prepared for a bigger stage and a bigger mission. Don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one, and the wisdom to use that difficulty to your advantage. The most successful people in history are the ones who were hit the hardest but refused to stay down. You need to have that same resilience and that same refusal to be broken. The world is going to try to break you, and it is going to try to make you stay in your place, but you have to be the one to say no. You have to be the one to decide that you are not going to be another statistic, and that you are going to be the exception to the rule. This requires a level of self-belief that borders on delusion, but that is what it takes to change the world. You have to believe in your own greatness long before anyone else does, and you have to work as if it is already true. This is the only way to manifest the life you want, and it is the only way to truly be free. So stop waiting for someone to tell you that you are ready and just start. Start where you are and use what you have and do what you can and never ever give up. The world is yours for the taking, but you have to be the one to take it. No one is going to hand it to you on a silver platter, and no one is going to give you a head start. You have to earn every single inch of ground you take, and you have to defend it with your life. This is the reality of the world, and it is the only way to win. So get ready for the fight of your life, and don't stop until you are the last one standing. This is the way of the warrior, and it is the way of the king. Now go out there and claim your destiny, and don't let anyone or anything stand in your way. You are a force of nature, and you are capable of anything if you only have the courage to try. So try and fail, and try again, and keep trying until you win, because that is the only thing that matters. The result is just a byproduct of the process, and the process is the fight. So love the fight, and love the struggle, and love the pain, because they are the things that make you who you are. And who you are is a legend in the making. So go out there and make it happen. The clock is ticking and the world is watching. So don't let them down, and more importantly, don't let yourself down. You have one life and one chance to make it count, so don't waste it on being average. Be extraordinary and be legendary and be the man you were born to be. The time is now.